Thank you, friends, for listening to me. Please like and subscribe for future encounters, tales of an old submariner. Memories of Captain First Rank Yu V. Suvorov, who went through all the stages of naval service on first-generation nuclear submarines of the Pacific Fleet. We replenished our supplies, took a breath of fresh air, and enjoyed the sun until we reached Binbao, a bay in Cam Ran. The upper access hatch is sealed, I reported after sliding down the ladder. The duty engineer mechanic, in a customary gesture, tilted his head and looked into the hatch shaft to check if he could see the stars. If they're not visible, it means the hatch is indeed closed. The brief and concise diving orders echoed, marking the beginning of autonomous navigation when the submarine, without surfacing, covertly fulfills its missions. That's what a submarine is for, to operate covertly. If it's not covert, then it's just a metal barrel filled with dimwits. I'm quite tough on myself, but I'll let you in on a secret. It's difficult and sometimes impossible to maintain that level of stealth. It's the third day of calm routine life underwater. Everything is functioning as it should, the crew is well drilled, we're comforted by the crisp commands from the watch officer and the engineer mechanic, and we receive reports from the battle stations. The sea is also calm, free from any airplanes or different ships. However, it's dull. It's boring for me, as I stay in the central post for days, while the crew is working hard. From 11 a.m. onwards, there's equipment maintenance, care of weapons and technical equipment, drills, training, and specialized classes. Lunch, cleaning, air regeneration, trash disposal, and then cleaning again, which usually ends around 10 to 11 p.m., followed by evening tea. We take over the watch at midnight, and the rest of the crew rotates in shifts until 11 a.m. So, there's no time for thinking about anything else. Air regeneration involves replacing these plates in metal boxes. These plates absorb carbon dioxide and release atomic oxygen, not O2 but O. Maintaining the gas composition in the air on board is a critical activity. If it drops below 18%, you'll feel unwell, and if it goes above 23%, the excess oxygen accumulates in your clothing and hair. As a rough comparison, you'd feel like you're drenched in gasoline. There were incidents of people catching fire like torches in the Northern Fleet. When these regeneration plates broke or got covered in grease, they'd ignite like gunpowder and burn like an electric arc, setting everything around them ablaze. That's why we handled them with great care. In every compartment, they had a clean brush, a small shovel, and a rubber mat. Nowadays, things have changed, and there's an automatic chemical unit. There were 200 cans of regeneration on the submarine as an emergency reserve, but we loaded and spread 3,000 cans around the compartments, each can holding 10 liters. Then there was the disposal of used regeneration and trash. You might be thinking we simply took a bucket and threw the trash out. But even this operation, disposing of trash underwater, is a responsible task. There's a device for it called DUK, which is a wide tube with two caps. The outer cap is closed, and the inner one is open inside the submarine. You load it with 10 sacks, close one cap, open the other, and flush it with air. You do this for about 2 hours, and all of this is done during a combat alert. So, I'm feeling alone and missing everyone. One day before lunch, I woke up, and don't be alarmed, the night watch was on. I noticed that our sonar was active and asked, "Navigator, what happened?" The navigator seemed puzzled and didn't know what to say. The flagship division navigator, who was teaching us a lesson, chimed in, "I request that you monitor the submarine's position using the sonar depth." I decided not to argue with him. I figured that when we got back to the base, more complaints would arise, and I didn't want that. I was wrong. You see, you should always follow what you were taught or instructed. A commander shouldn't be afraid or hesitant. So, I picked up the phone and reported, "Commander of K-151, we're in the dock, and I'm facing an issue." In response, the phone bellowed, "Understood." The next morning, I saw a lot of activity around my submarine, with fans being brought in. In the sky, the deputy commander of our fleet flew to our flagship. The problem was resolved. So, Here's the situation. We're traversing the South China Sea using our sonar. The acoustics team reports back. The propeller noise is classified as that of a submarine. The initial thought is to withdraw, but no, let's investigate first. We move away from it a bit, but it's unusual to have two contacts with a diesel submarine, and even less likely with an atomic one. So, I put on the headphones, and there's some kind of screeching, similar to when you lift a bucket from a well and turn the handle. It piqued my curiosity. We surfaced to periscope depth and raised the periscope. There they were, our friends, preparing to catch us. Two frigates. One was setting up a hydroacoustic station in the same spot to listen to our sonar operations, while the other rushed to provide support based on the signals from our NACAT, our sonar signal. Well, that's unnecessary, gentlemen, we've become wiser. I deployed the extendable sonar at a depth of 20 meters due to the turbulent hydrology in the area, where you can't hear anything nearby, and we started moving away stealthily. You might wonder about our reasoning for deviating from our safe diving depth of 40 meters, which is designed to protect us from a collision. Why did we break the rules? The answer is simple. We didn't want to let the frigate's deployed station earn a medal or commendation for locating us. I thought, what a disgrace it would be if we had been intercepted just before leaving the base. Due to the lack of means to determine the location of our submarines, all our submarines in the area had to rely on sonar, which led to them being detected. The K-10 submarine had an underwater collision with a foreign submarine that was trailing it. Later, I verified this hypothesis. On one occasion, when we heard a hydroacoustic signal, we went to see who was responsible for it, and we had traveled about 200 miles. The signal was there, but we didn't find the source. It was too far away. Some time passed, and we assumed our combat position. Don't be alarmed, dear reader, even though the area is called combat position, we're not planning to fire or sink anything. Not at the moment, anyway. But we must monitor all the U.S. Navy strike forces that could be present in the region or that might redirect to another area where they are located. Our task is to establish tracking, and upon receiving the order, in case of any war, to sink the enemy. I may have stretched the truth a bit. If we're the first to attack and if we're able, we must. But to take an aircraft carrier out of action, you'd need to hit it with 10 to 12 torpedoes, something that nobody would allow us to do. Their defense is designed to withstand a full fleet strength in order to defeat the carrier battle group. You've all heard of the Cold War, but do you know what it feels like? Submariners of the Soviet Navy knew it through their sweat, sleepless nights, and held breath when the chilling silence passed near the submarine's hull. It frightened both you and itself. Nowadays, it's all different. Aircraft carriers still exist, but we don't. Some say we have no enemies anymore, while others believe that Americans are now our brothers. So, we've killed our entire fleet. What a fleet we had in the late 80s. The third and fourth generation submarines had arrived. American ballistic missile submarines already had a great deal of respect for us. And the aircraft carriers needed our Granite and Vulcan missiles. 30 to 60 missiles could strike a carrier from a distance of 1,000 kilometers simultaneously and from different directions. It would have no way to fend off such an attack. I understand there are many words, and you're probably wondering where the action is, something that can take your breath away. We surface for a communication session, and a radio message instructs us to head to a new area. We're expecting the transit of a carrier battle group, CBG, with an aircraft carrier task force, including Enterprise, Kitty Hawk, and Midway. We carried out the necessary calculations for the search, resurfacing every 3 hours to search for radio signals on the NACAT. 3 aircraft carriers, 30 escort ships, they are bound to be using electronic systems. It was only in 1941 that the Japanese fleet, operating without location and radio communication, stealthily approached Pearl Harbor, plunging America into chaos. Our NACAT can detect them from about 200 to 300 miles away. So we're searching. During a routine resurfacing, we detected signals on the NACAT with a strength rating of 3. We had to get away fast. both turbines at full power, depth at 102.5 meters, and forward. Not only you, dear reader, but even submariners might find it strange to specify 102.5 meters. I agree, it's not a command you'd give at a speed of 27 knots, not 1 nautical mile per hour. However, at the usual 6 to 12 knots, it's a common practice. Someone might say it's just showing off, and the Mothers Committee would consider it mockery. But no, there's a whole philosophy behind it. If you tell a sailor to maintain a depth of 100 or 150 meters, they might get bored at the helm, feel like sleeping, or simply not care much about adjusting it perfectly. But when it's specified as 102.5 meters, it demands more attention, reduces boredom, increases responsibility, and elevates the mastery required to maintain that depth. Steering is straightforward, but holding the specified depth requires skill, especially at a speed of 27 knots. It demands expertise, cool-headedness, and courage. Make a mistake, get worried for a second, and the boat might either pitch up or down. Now, how fast do you think it would shoot to the surface from a depth of 100 meters, traveling at a speed of 50 kilometers per hour? And how quickly would it plunge to 300 meters, where the bulkheads would crack and black water would rush into your lungs, crushing and tearing your body? Scary, right? Don't worry, we won't allow that to happen. We have experts at the helm and other battle stations. On submarines, there's training every day, whether the conditions are good or bad, but it's always better in the good conditions. In the bad conditions, it's better to learn from others' mistakes and draw conclusions. We passed several miles and resurfaced. The acoustics team reported the noise of propellers, and the bearing was 45 degrees. Let's classify the contact. According to acoustics, it's a carrier battle group, CBG, composed of 3 ships. Target number 1, a heavy cruiser bearing 46 degrees. Target number 2, target number 3. Battle stations. Torpedo attack. Don't be alarmed, this is just a drill. We are always learning. The crew followed with commands and reports for calculating target movement and torpedo salvo data. For a multi-purpose submarine, a torpedo attack is like an art form, a symphony, with the senior assistant acting as the conductor and the commander as the masterful analyst. The highest tension and most intense moments of this symphony are when clear, concise reports are given on the control compartment, GKP. The senior assistant, with a microphone, confirms and averages out like a maestro directing an orchestra. Meanwhile, the commander sits in his chair, focused on a chart with a blunt pencil, not sharpened, because a sharp one might break or tear the paper, and the sailors might notice and say he's getting nervous. The commander should remain calm. His composure instills faith in the sailors. Woe to those who rush around the compartment, bustling and causing chaos. Running through is fine, it's even better if they just pass through. We'll tell you about the attack itself sometime later, but for now, let's have a look at the opponent and report what we've discovered in the field. Periscope depth. You might think it's as simple as just rising up under the periscope, take a quick look, and that's it. But no, there's more to it. You must listen to the horizon at the best possible depth, assess the targets, then resurface at 40 meters and listen to the horizon again. Examine the stern bearing angles, especially in the most dangerous sector, and then start the ascent to periscope depth at 10 meters. In the South China Sea, at depths of 40 meters or more, you might not hear anything due to the unique hydrology. You raise the periscope, quickly check the bow bearing angles in the most threatening sector, and then sweep the horizon. While you're turning the periscope, the entire crew is at battle stations, prepared for an immediate dive. The boat takes up about 5 tons of water, so if there's danger, it can quickly detach from the surface and plummet like a stone. We surfaced. Scanned the horizon. 3 warships, probably they're a decoy for us. They must be thinking we'll be distracted, while the carrier battle group, CBG, goes in another direction. We transmitted the contact report to the fleet and returned to the original location, which is the center of the area where the CBG is expected to pass through. We took our position and continued the search. We resurface according to the calculations every 3 hours, although the maneuver is dangerous, as I've already mentioned, so it's always done at battle stations. There are no training sessions anymore, only maintenance activities for the crew's well-being. We've been waiting and searching for 3 days. Our eyes are already red, sleep is elusive, and we haven't even been able to shower. During the night on the next surfacing, I raised the periscope, and pigeons came flying towards us again. They turned on searchlights, red and green lights of their running lights. The anti-submarine Orion aircraft began their dance. They probably think I'm about to flee from them. No, the carrier battle group, CBG, has sailed away, and the Orions are providing long-range anti-submarine protection. They wouldn't have been able to detect me themselves unless it was purely by chance. That means the contact was passed to them by an atomic submarine, which is part of the CBG, usually a Los Angeles-class SSN on the threatened axis. With that companion, we have no chance in terms of stealth or otherwise, but we don't need that. We need the CBG. Bosun, dive to 60 meters. Reports came in, depth 15 meters, depth 20 meters, depth 30 meters. Acoustic sensors reported, to the right, 10 propeller noise, course quickly changes to the stern. No one was above, I had just looked through the periscope. Maintain the depth at 30 meters. Courses are at 20, 30, and 40. It's moving like an express train. The boat? It's right next to us. No evasive maneuvers. They want to live too. They hear better than us, they've calculated everything, and now they're pushing and intimidating us. Courses are at 90, 100, 120. Contact is lost. Silence in the control room, faces pale. Bosun, maintain the depth at 40 meters. No need to disturb the acoustic sensors, they're trying to figure it out. Acoustics reported, target number 1, submarine, course 15 left side, bearing shifts to bow. Course 0, 10 right side, 20, 30, 40. The target is moving to the stern. What were they thinking? Right next to us, if not right under us. They're intimidating us, but we mustn't get scared. They want to live too. It seemed like we got rid of them. Surfaced again. The masts are up. On NACAT, there's a vast number of signals. Here comes the CBG. Reported to the fleet that we've detected the CBG with passive means, then we dove down to a depth of 27 knots, in the direction where there are so many signals that we need. On the 4th day of searching. Again, everything is loud and thundering. Where's that submarine? Let it come, we'll crush it and obliterate it. We're not afraid, we wouldn't hear anything anyway. And we wouldn't hear, if something happens, there's an impact, and that's it. We won't suffer, besides, the sea's depth is 3,000 meters. For the reader, these words may sound, but we don't have time to think about such things, we need the aircraft carrier. Surfaced again, raised the NACAT. They've changed course to another direction. Off we go again. We surfaced. The CBG has moved far away from us, and in front of us, there's some kind of decoy. The night is too dark to distinguish. We're off again. But our old friend, the submarine, hasn't left us, it's somewhere close. We're running in one direction, it surfaces and relays our location to the CBG. They're already having fun, laughing at us, and marveling at our persistence. It's already morning up on the surface. The sun is rising, but we still haven't closed our eyes. Those not on duty are sleeping at their battle stations. Acoustics, hydrolocator signal. Battle stations, prepare for surfacing. Prepare to surface to periscope depth. Acoustics are listening attentively. I anticipate an order. Bosun, mechanic, be ready for collision evasion, I caution. Sleep is fading, cheeks are burning, they say it's adrenaline. Depth is at 20 meters, raise the periscopes, depth at 10. What's this? Periscopes. Well, we have 2, one has a camera attached. We'll take some pictures. We surfaced. Wow, we're right in the middle of the order. To the left, 30, it's the Knox-class frigate, 10 cable lengths away. Another one right ahead. To the right, 60, that's the enormous gray aircraft carrier with towering sides. Let's go, Sergey, photograph it, everything you can. The camera is clicking. I dictate to the fleet over the radio that we found them, caught up to them, that they are nearby. They'll be thrilled. They'll start drawing marks on the maps, making decisions. They must think I'll now report the exact location every 4 hours, as it should be. Stop. A helicopter from the left frigate is taking off. It flew towards us, dropped a big black sphere, and banged on our hull with hydroacoustic transmitters. Is it trying to scare us, or is it training? We're lowering our hydroacoustic station. Time to dive down. The frigate on the left doesn't need a helicopter. It's turning towards us. Emergency dive. Depth at 40 meters. We're following the order underwater, on the same course as the CBG, speed at 12 knots, while they're going at 25 to 30. We're falling behind. We'll accelerate, but they turn in the opposite direction and scattered like ships at sea. Besides, we're not in a hurry now. The radio is prepared for transmission. We surface again. We've sent the message. The CBG is already far away, 10 miles. We submerge and continue our pursuit. Just in 6 days, our search area has expanded to almost the Malacca Strait. Everyone is exhausted. Talking is hard. We're catching up, preparing the radio, moving away for transmission, relaying information, catching up, and relaying every 4 hours. The CBG didn't leave the area until the 7th day. Now it's time for everyone to sleep, except those on watch. It's time to return to the base. Our autonomy period has ended. The sailors, the crew, they're great. Just tired now. That's what sea service is all about. And the submarine, what a clever one. No mischief throughout the whole time. Understands that this is a tough job. Chasing aircraft carriers. Cares about people. I love this job.
Torpedoes to starboard.
Our team has taken the lead.
Hull breach. We're taking on water quickly. Problem solved, sir.
Enemy destroyer foundered.